Welcome to Life Workshop, where we discuss the forgotten basics. So the topic of this episode is how do you develop an opinion? And again, in here, I have with me your most favorite co-host, Beau, and of course, I am the most favorite host, Mo. So let's get started with this again, Beau. I'm going to ask you this quick question. How do you develop an opinion? Just to give a background, for example, if I come and ask you, what's your opinion about building a spaceship? I'm hoping you don't have one.
Not particularly.
Okay, good.
Well, I guess, so you asked me that, right?
Here.
I'll be like, hey, so spaceship. Okay, you have to write down spaceship. And then you have to ask yourself a series of questions. What does that even entail? Like we're going into space, so we need to have something that's going to deal with the vacuum of space.
You want to get closer to my
Sorry.
again, yeah.
So vacuum of space is a problem. Then we have.
I'm not going to get into that.
Oh, okay.
This is where I'm going. To develop an opinion, normally we should have some sort of a knowledge of a type. For example, if I come and ask you about plumbing, you're a plumber by profession. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you have some good ideas, and so I have some reasoning behind it to back it up.
Right.
But when I'm asking about a spaceship,
I don't know.
Okay, period.
That's why
done.
I have to ask all these questions.
No, then we don't have an opinion. Basically, that's what. Right. You ask questions. Exactly. You ask questions, but you don't have opinion. There are two different things. Good. Now, but when we develop opinions, for example, I know that you have some opinion about climate change, about the COVID that hopefully is kind of done, and all this stuff, and carbon tax, and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all do. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, not we all do. No, some do. I don't.
We should.
Okay. I discourage the opinions, but Let's get back to this. How do you develop an opinion? How much do you know about climate change?
At what
point? Okay. And this is the question. At what point do you think that you're allowed, in a reasonable way, to develop an opinion?
Allowed to?
When I say allowed, basically that is reasonable.
I don't think that can even happen. It's not like you're allowed to. You just have them based on your life experience and things that you've learned, and then you observe, right, what's around you, and then you can base your opinions on that, right? And your opinion isn't always factual, because it's influenced by a lot of different things.
And that's a very good point, because I was just actually, normally we develop an opinion based on sometimes the group of people that we have around, or for example, if we have studied something, we read a book, or we saw something on Facebook.
Right.
I just read one sentence, and then. But this is the thing. At what point do we allow ourselves to say that this is my opinion? Because, for example, for me personally, I need to know quite a bit. And again, to be honest, sometimes I become careful about I use the word opinion, but, I don't mean it in that fashion.
Mm-hmm.
For example, when it comes to climate change, I'm actually like to throw this example. There was a politician in United States that he was anti-climate change, and he knew a little bit about the climate change. I'm sure he did, because the way he talked, it seemed that he knows. He could have said anything, and I don't know, so I would just say, wow, you know quite a bit. Right. But anyways, then there was somebody who was a pro-climate change, a younger man, he went and he questioned him, and then the politician, he responded with some, words which that was above my head, and then, anyways, he won the conversation. And then I said, if it was me in that crowd, this would be my reaction. I would go and tell the guy, it seems that you have studied about climate change. Good on you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much. Sometimes I have to even Google to see if I get the spelling correct. I'm kidding. I'm not that bad. I don't know about climate change. So when it comes to something that is out of my scope, do I develop an opinion? The answer is no. I just simply follow. And who would I follow? Normally I say I follow the big boys and the girls in that club, which this club is the scientists who are knowledgeable about climate change. So those scientists, they say it is existing. To best of my knowledge, most of them, if not all, they say, and this that I'm saying because I have actually talked to two. To this, actually, one of them is a scientist, in the climate change, and that are there some scientists who disagree? Then he said, really not disagree with the meaning that you say, but because they are funded by some other companies that they are against climate change, so they are trying to say that the climate change is not human, the human is not behind it. But we believe that, yes, majority very solidly they agree that the climate change is happening because of the human activities that we have done. So I said, if it was me, I would go tell that politician, I don't know about politics. I don't know about the science of climate change. However, to best of my knowledge, most of the scientists who are knowledgeable in that field, they say it is existing. So I tend to follow them and put my trust in them. Of course, somebody said, so do you think the scientists don't make mistakes? I said they do, but not as much as the non-scientists. It is like, do plumbers make mistake? Yes, but not as much as the non-plumbers when it comes to plumbing.
Sure.
So it's just a concept of a statistic. And then actually another friend said, do you trust the scientist? I said, well, I trust them way more than the politician.
Yeah.
Let's be real, politicians, they are not known for being the most honest people. And again, at the end of the day, they are educated. So when we talk about opinion, when it comes to that, is it my opinion? Absolutely not, because who am I to have an opinion about climate change? But what would I do if I had to take a position? If I have to. If I don't have to, I don't. But if I have to take a position, which, for example, in this sense, I would say I have to, then I take the position to follow the big boys and the girls in that club that they say it is existing, and then say, okay, what shall I do? And then I try to follow as much as I can to be a good citizen. That's all I do. So it is the concept that we're gonna say, how do you develop an opinion?
Okay, well, let's take that example again, the climate change one, right? And this is my sort of thoughts on this whole thing, and the politician thing, that has a lot to do with this because it's all highly politicized, right? So then you have all this propaganda on each way. So
when you say politicized, is it politicized by the scientist or by politician?
By politicians.
So because of that, I'm not listening to the politician. I listen to the scientist.
This is sure, yes. But at the same time, there's different propaganda that comes out, and they say, well, this scientist says this scientist says that, this scientist says this scientist says that. And I know about the greenhouse effect. I've went to school, I know about for chemistry, right? And I know about what the greenhouse effect is, and it's been around for a long time, and it's been used for our benefit for a lot of history, for doing specific things. But also you hear things about how this is bad and how 1 or 2 degrees will change the climate of the earth and it does bad things, right? And then they talk about killing the planet. And well, when you go to those extremes, my mind says, well, no, you're not going to kill the planet. You're just making human life harder or animal life harder or something, right? The planet will be fine. You know what? We're not going to blow it up, right?
I'm not sure if they're saying you're going to blow it up. I haven't heard that.
Not blow it up, but I mean, life is going to end on the planet.
Let's not sensationalize it then.
Well, exactly, right? And it is sensationalized like that. And they have this whole fear thing. And remember when the Al Gore thing came out, right? I'm pretty sure, I don't remember because it's such a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure we're all supposed to be dead.
Of course, again, remember, Al Gore was a politician.
Right.
Yeah. So because of that,
Yeah.
I don't listen to the politician, period.
But that's what got this all started.
Actually, this is where I'm going with this, though. Because
and
when it comes to this part, again, I just listen to the scientists. And when you see, often when you talk to the scientists, which as a person I have done, I have been lucky that I know two. But I mean, one of them is a scientist, the other one is a professor. And then both of them, they talk very calmly, but they with some disappointment, for sure.
yeah.
And that, things are getting worse. With these things, we get extreme temperatures. Again, how do I know? As back to what you said, for example, yes, I have watched a few YouTube videos about climate change, about the
oh wow, there's some factual
I said,
evidence
okay,
right there.
but let me tell you this. This is the thing. You said that you have studied a little bit about the
greenhouse effect
and this kind of things. Well, I have changed a few taps in my life. I think I can be a professional plumber.
Well,
this is where I'm going.
That's just the tip of the iceberg there, fella.
So that exactly that is where I'm going. So the study that you have done too, it is a tip of iceberg. That's all it is. And this is where I'm going, that if we start really practicing it this way, we just say, okay, I don't know, it's not my profession. When it comes to physio, for example, I'm a physical therapist. When it comes to that, and again, can I say with 100% certainty? Really no, but very close. And the reason is with some of them, with some of the stuff that I do, because obviously I have the knowledge behind it, I have the experience about it, I have done it several times, and then sometimes I can predict. But really, again, I'm 100% sure? No, we are not. We cannot say that. So, but definitely I know more about, for example, when it comes to physio than somebody a non-physio. Now, if somebody comes with an idea that how they should fix their shoulder or, their, I don't know, knee, it's not the best thing. It's better to listen again to somebody who has done it, has been successful in it, and, just to listen to them. Can they be wrong? The answer is yes. But the chances of them being wrong is a lot less. That is all I'm trying to say.
This is true. But when you observe the world around you and you listen to what the so-called experts have told you, and their computer models are always wrong, the world outside us, we're not dead right now.
Actually, you're saying that I have never heard of. I have not heard any of the climate change, specialists. They say that we are supposed to be dead by now.
Okay, I'm sensationalizing.
Then, if you do that, then we can make up stories.
I guess I'm just as bad. But at the same time, these computer models never seem to work out. It just seems a bunch of doomsday sayers at this point. And this specific example of the climate change one it's hard because there's a lot that goes into it. The climate is extremely complicated. It's not just a matter of taking temperatures.
That's why I have no opinion on it.
Yeah, okay, that's great. So, but we also have to think critically about these things, because there was a time when trans fats used to be good for us, and they're not anymore, right? So, and you're saying this like, well, I'm just going to blindly believe whatever the so-called experts say. I'm not as trusting as you. And,
actually, okay.
And okay. I want to know more. Like
I don't trust my plumber too. Maybe I should start taking some plumbing and the electrician and the framer and everybody else.
It doesn't hurt to know things. I mean, and you ask questions all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So why aren't we all should be asking these questions, about these things, because this is something about the whole world, and we want to develop an opinion on it.
Actually, I remember when
I don't think there's a problem with asking all these questions, because there's a lot of stuff that comes up all the time, and I don't know the answer to these things, but maybe it'd be nice to talk to someone who does, or is in the field of study, who does these things and can draw it on a board or something. So
the asking question, I encourage. I do absolutely encourage the asking question. To develop an opinion, I discourage. That is what I'm trying to say. Yes, if somebody's interested...
Well, then what's the point in asking a question? If you're not going to develop an opinion, there's no point in asking questions. Just blindly follow whatever the cleric guy said, because whatever God he's into says that's the way to do it.
You're right, but then I asked the question from the person who is educated with the successful, experience in the field. If I'm interested to know. For me, I'm not going to spend my time or energy into learning the detail how the climate change has happened.
Why not?
I'm not interested in that. I spend my time to learn something else.
Then who cares? You just said that that just means that you don't care.
The same way that when I get on the plane, I don't necessarily go a search to see how the plane was made. If the pilot was, gone through all the training, I don't do that. I just put my trust in it. The same way that when I get in my car, I don't know how my car runs, and I don't know how to fix it, and I don't know who made it. The same way that, when I build my house, I put my trust in the people that, they build it. However, I observed it, obviously, for this one. What I'm trying to say that if we wanted to do that, then we had to be expert in everything, which is absolutely impossible. Well, so I try to be expert in one thing. For the other ones, yes, I put my trust into people who are educated with as I say again, with a good experience in it too. At the same time, now I'm going to go back to this. At the same time, yes, I do question. For example, during the COVID time, the way that it was handled, personally, I was questioning it. Mm-hmm. Because and the questioning that I had was the fact that they would get the politician, the reporter would talk about COVID, which I have no interest to get a second-hand information, instead of this educated person in that field. And one problem was that sometimes the educated person in the field that was talking about COVID, they had everything right, but they didn't have the big picture, in my opinion. This is my opinion that I'm saying, but which created a bit of question. Yes, they would come up with the reasons or with the ways to prevent the spread of the virus. And yes, you wouldn't die from the virus, but you would be dead, or you would have a miserable life because of the way that you applied it. So they missed to see the big picture. Mm-hmm. That is where I'm going. And again, that one, I would question it. I would question that. I understand that part of it. So do I question the scientist? Absolutely, I would. But when, not in the science part of it, but the application part of it, where it applies. For example, as I said, with the COVID thing, it makes more sense. That when, for example, they would say self-isolate, or I don't know, some stuff. Yes, when you do that, you have a lot of other problems happening with the self-isolation. Mm-hmm. The loneliness, and, you couldn't have money to, provide for yourself and your family, and all of those things. Yes, you wouldn't die from COVID, but you would die from 100 other reasons. I mean, that was sensationalizing it. Mm-hmm. I should take it back. But it would make your life miserable. And really, what would be the consequence if you got COVID? What would happen? It was, in my opinion, the way I understood it, and I spoke actually with some of the people that they were more educated in the medical field, in that field specifically, that, yes, maybe they should have treated it differently. Maybe they should have just been putting more emphasis on people who are vulnerable and less emphasis on people who are less vulnerable. And yes, anyway, I'm going too far with this thing. But what I'm trying to say, even for that one, again, I would have questions, because some of it I didn't know that, for example, if somebody gets COVID and doesn't get healed properly or quick, then the chance of virus, to mutate would become a lot more in that. And that is how the mutations happen. So because of that, I believe they wanted the whole world to be vaccinated, not just a part of the world, that they can afford it. So the mutation happens because of that. Now I'm going too far, but again, the concept of the opinion, again, as I said, I try personally not to develop an opinion as much as possible when I don't know. I just follow, very simply follow. Of course, this said, I know that once you asked this, I said, we had a conversation about this before this, that you said that, but I talk about different subjects. Then how can I do that? And my thing was, first of all, I talk about the basic stuff. And second thing, I talk about the things that we need to make a decision. I have to make a decision about, for example...
That wasn't me.
Okay.
I never said that to you.
But anyway, so it has been asked that, how do you dare to talk about all different topics? Which I said, I talk about the subjects that we need to make a decision. And it's a decision, not opinion. Again, there is a difference between the two. For example, I have to make a decision that what I'm going to eat, or what kind of a paint I'm going to put, color to have the walls when I was building the house, or I don't know if I want to go for a party or not, or something like those things. For those things, or who do I want to hang out with? Those are decisions that I have to make. Again, they are not opinions. It's a bit different. For those things that they are daily things, they're based
on opinion, though.
Sure, now we are getting to philosophy, but
That's what it is. Okay,
but what
let's do something here quick. Let's define opinion.
oh, you got me there. I don't know. I have to go.
What the hell are we talking about?
No. I kind of randomly, I know, but I don't have a specific. I have to go Google it. I can Google it properly. Anybody can Google it, and it tells you the definition of opinion.
Okay.
But I try to keep it in a very practical way.
Right.
That is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Sometimes the discussions that we have in this podcast normally are about the things that we have to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have a direction.
Right.
And those are the things that I talk about versus developing an opinion about. When I get on the plane, I don't tell the pilot, hey, we passengers, we decided you push that button. I just let the pilot do what the pilot do. Do the pilot get it right? Most of the time they do. Sometimes they screw up, but most of the time they do. I don't have any right to get up and express my opinion, or that majority is voting that we should push that button. That is not how it works.
I get that, but I don't think that example or that analogy or whatever we want to call it is interchangeable with everything, because that has to do with technology. There's defined limits on how this machine called an airplane works. We know exactly how it's doing it. We know exactly what's happening. We know exactly what's going on. It's fairly technical, right? So we don't have to go and say, hey, guy, do this or do that. That's a person trained specifically to do that specific.
I think climate is the same thing. It's just that the technology of it, we don't know as much.
We don't. Well, there's so much that goes into it, and so many different factors.
But
and you
the
talk
scientists, they know more than we do.
Totally. But you can talk to a physicist. You can talk to a carbon dioxide chemist. You can talk to a climate guy. You can talk to an astrophysicist. You can talk to and there's so many different factors that go into it, right? That it's hard to make this opinion on, and I don't know if all these guys are coming together to talk about it. So it's tough. So that's why I don't really have an opinion on it, but I do know that just from watching the world around me and seeing things, well, nothing's really changing so much. Like people say there's more tornadoes. Well, there's always has been. There's been fluctuations in the weather all the time. But I do know, and I can say that this factually, that pollution's bad, and that we shouldn't be using finite resources to destroy for energy consumption. So we should be finding things that are renewable and better, and we shouldn't pollute.
As I said,
period.
I'm going back to this.
Doesn't that solve all the problems?
I'm going back to this.
Okay.
When it comes to all these things, those fancy words that you use, that
they were fancy.
For me, it was. But remember, I'm a foreigner.
Oh, that's bullshit.
But all those things that you use, again, I just follow the climate change guys, the scientists. On one thing I agree with you though, that if the climate change guys, for example, like the COVID specialists, if they come and make suggestions that how to fix the climate, and they could be absolutely right. They fix the climate, but sometimes they ruin the life in 100 different ways. That one I would question. For example, when they want to implement some changes really quickly that affects the economy severely. So that becomes a kind of paralyzing. You cannot expose changes too quick normally.
And without thinking them through.
Correct. So those kind of things, normally, if it was something like that, if I had some knowledge, I would just, for example, question that, is this the best way? Do you know what happens when you do this? The climate change would be fixed. Sure. You know how to fix that, most likely, and I'm not going to argue with that. But do you know what other things are going to happen as a subsequent of it? Consequences of it. For example, financially or emotionally, on that, the toll is going to have on other people that they have been having their livelihood through the things that are affecting climate change. So that is something that maybe they haven't taken into consideration, and I don't know. But so that part I would question, but I would not question their pure knowledge about the climate change. And I think that is where generally as a public thing we make a mistake, that we want to fight to say that no, climate doesn't happen, it has happened forever. Who are you to say that? The scientist is saying it's happening. You cannot do that, but you can question the process of change that you're applying. That is this the best process? That is all I'm saying. So
with a lot of this too, like I guess I'm really distrusting about a lot of this. Like I would prefer for myself, because I have all these questions, and and there's emotional responses as well, right? And I have all these questions, and it's almost like I myself want to see the raw data and see it. And then with that data, then we know, well, what question was asked, what's the raw data, how is it generated, what's going on, and then I would like to make an informed opinion, and that's the most informed you can do.
For you to do that, you should go study and almost become a scientist.
I'm almost... Okay, thanks. My former education doesn't mean anything, but...
it is not enough. That is what I'm saying. Even if you give me all those data, what would I do with the data? I don't know what to do with it. This is where I'm going with these things. That it's better just to leave it. And the concept of lack of trust, when you say that, it is something that we choose to trust or not. And because of that, personally, I don't get emotional about this stuff. I just, whatever, they are saying that, I agree, as I said. But if I have questions, the same way that I had about the COVID thing, the way that it was, the process was done, I would challenge the process of, what they do. But I would not challenge the fact that the guy who is a specialist in the field, and normally, because they are right. You can fix COVID. You can make sure that it never ever spreads. You can do that by sending everybody, put them in a cell, and they don't do anything. But then they die for 100 different reasons.
This is all stupid though. Because
the climate change, again, the same thing. The process, is it happening? They say it's happening, so I say sure it is happening. Is it bad? It is human. Human has caused it. Yes, that's what they say. So I say sure. But now, how can we reverse it? How can we slow it down? I would sometimes question that the way you're doing it, are you causing other issues? Sure. That maybe in the big picture we lose more than we gain.
But doesn't
that one we can question.
But doesn't it bother you? Like we talked about this earlier. I floated this idea by you earlier that the whole thing, say climate change, it started out as, well, the greenhouse effect, and then it went into global warming, and there was a time where they were talking about global cooling too. So and then they changed the wording to climate change because no one can deny that the climate changes. So it all feels disingenuous. It all feels like it feels wrong. And I know that my feeling, no one cares about, the facts don't care about your feelings. I get it, but there's something, it just feels icky, for lack of a better word. And the thing about not, like, I wouldn't understand the data if it came to me, that's ridiculous. If data should be presented in a way that most people should be able to understand it. I get, some people won't be interested or won't want to understand. If you saying it's too complicated for you to understand, that's not okay. That's not what science is about.
Can I go find out how to make a spaceship? Elon Musk did it. I'm not probably as intelligent, nor definitely as rich.
That's not what we're
but
talking about.
The point is that, I'm not interested to put my effort there. That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't know how a computer works. I don't know how the hell my phone works, but I can read a sheet of data.
I'm not sure actually if the data that you're saying
with their specific values and measurements, and that's quantitative data.
I wouldn't be too surprised first of some of the things that say is existing. But beside that, I wanted just to mention this. The podcast again is becoming longer than I thought. But I want to say that.
Sorry, I'm getting all emotional.
Yeah, that is exactly okay. When it comes to this, as I said, I simply follow. I do not develop opinion. I don't get emotional. And normally I say this. I say emotion starts where logic stops. Remember that. So I don't sweat on it. I don't get bothered with it. I just follow. Tell me what to do. And as I said, if I have a question, About the implementation, I would definitely, I have no problem questioning. Even right now, now I'm going too far, but right now I'm questioning City of Regina for the way that they are fixing some stuff. Do I know about the data? Do I know about the science? Absolutely not. But the process, the way that is done, the outcome, I have serious questions. And I'm asking serious questions. And I'm not going to accept some BS that they have provided me so far.
Okay, well, if they provide you with the data of why they made that decision.
They haven't. This is where I'm going.
But you would like that.
Okay. In this case, No, in this case, I'm interested. Yeah, if I was interested, I would do that.
Okay.
In this case, I'm interested. In the climate change, I'm not interested. That's all I'm trying to say. That I just simply follow.
That's fine then. Like you can be not interested or not. It doesn't. I'm personally am interested in knowing the data.
Then go and figure out.
Don't tell me I'm too stupid to understand it.
That is not what I said. I said just go ask. I encourage questioning. Go ask. But the fact that you develop an opinion, I would say it would be a kind of immature. That's all I'm trying to say. And it's not just you, by the way.
That's fair.
Yeah. And that is not only about Beau, it's about everybody. We develop too many opinions. That's all I'm trying to say. We develop too many opinions. And this is exactly where I'm going. I simplify life. You complicate it, Mr.
Me?
Co-host.
Whatever.
I think anyway, it took longer than I thought, but you are going to come back. We are going to do an episode, some other episode on the same subject, how to develop, how do you develop an opinion. But again, at the end,
we're not going to talk about stupid climate change anymore.
Life is simple. Beau makes it complicated.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.